Everything you have been told about protecting your night vision is wrong, and the advice you got could actually be making things worse. I know that sounds alarming, and honestly, it should. But here is the good news: understanding this is the first step to protecting yourself. My name is Dr. Nathan Walker, and I have spent the last 22 years helping patients recover from preventable health problems that their doctors missed. What I am about to share with you today comes from decades of clinical work, research, and the stories of patients like William, who you will hear from later in this video. William is a 62-year-old hardware store owner from Michigan. He came to me 6 months ago struggling with night driving, failing night vision tests, and a blood pressure problem that nobody had connected to his deteriorating eyesight. His journey, and the thousands of patients like him, revealed something that fundamentally changed how I think about eye health. But first, you need to understand the lie that has been told for 80 years. During World War II, the British Royal Air Force needed to hide something. They had developed a revolutionary new technology called radar, and they could not allow the Nazi Luftwaffe to understand why their pilots could suddenly see enemy aircraft in complete darkness. So they created one of the most successful propaganda campaigns in history. They told the world that carrots improve night vision dramatically. They flooded the media with stories about their fighter pilots eating endless quantities of carrots. British newspapers published recipes. They created posters. They made it a patriotic duty to eat carrots for better eyesight. And it worked. The Germans never caught on to radar technology. The British kept their military advantage. And the carrot myth was born, so perfectly that it has survived 80 years of scientific evidence to the contrary. Even today, in 2026, people still believe that eating more carrots will dramatically improve their night vision. It is the most pervasive health myth in modern medicine, and it is absolutely incomplete. Here is what happened. Carrots do contain beta-carotene, which your body can convert into vitamin A. That part is true. And yes, vitamin A is essential for night vision. That part is also true. But and this is critical, most people cannot efficiently convert beta-carotene into the form of vitamin A that your eyes actually need. Your liver has to perform a metabolic conversion, and this process is inefficient, variable, and fails in many people due to genetics, inflammation, gut health, and medication interactions. On average, you need to eat approximately 12 times more beta-carotene than you would need to consume of actual retinol to achieve the same vitamin A status. 12 times more. And that is assuming your conversion works at all. Many people, perhaps you, have genetic variations that make this conversion 50% less efficient. Carrots are a partial truth that has become a complete lie. Now, I want you to subscribe to this channel before we go any further, because what I am about to share with you is not what your doctor probably told you. The connection between your blood pressure, your mitochondrial health, and your night vision is something most physicians never learned in medical school. If you find this information valuable, subscribing ensures you will not miss the protocols that could genuinely change your quality of life. Let me show you what actually causes night vision decline. Your eye contains millions of specialized cells called rods. These rods are like living night vision cameras, packed with a light-sensitive protein called rhodopsin. Rhodopsin is the molecular sensor that allows you to see in darkness. When light hits rhodopsin, it changes shape, triggers an electrical signal, and your brain interprets that as vision. But here is the critical part: rhodopsin depletes constantly. Every time it detects light, it breaks down and must be regenerated. That regeneration requires vitamin A, zinc, and the amino acid taurine. Without adequate supplies of these three nutrients, your rods cannot regenerate rhodopsin fast enough. Your night vision crashes. You struggle to see faces in dim lighting. You cannot drive safely after dark. You become someone who avoids evening activities because you are afraid of being unable to navigate. This is what happened to William, and it is what is happening to thousands of people right now who are eating carrots and wondering why their night vision keeps getting worse. But there is another reason that most people do not understand, and this reason often gets completely overlooked by conventional doctors. High blood pressure damages the tiny blood vessels in your retina. These vessels are microscopic, delicate, and they are the only oxygen supply for your rod cells. When blood pressure stays chronically elevated, those vessels develop microtears, inflammation, and reduced blood flow. Your retina becomes hypoxic. Your rods, which require enormous amounts of oxygen because they are so metabolically active at night, start to fail. They literally starve for oxygen even when you are getting plenty of oxygen in your lungs. William had stage 2 hypertension that nobody had treated. His blood pressure was 158/94. And his night vision had declined 37% over 3 years. That was not a coincidence. That was physiology in action. Zinc deficiency is the third major mechanism that most people never hear about. Zinc is a critical cofactor in the enzyme that regenerates rhodopsin. Without adequate zinc, the conversion of used-up rhodopsin back into fresh, functional rhodopsin slows dramatically. Studies show that people with night vision problems have zinc levels that are statistically lower than people with normal night vision. A study from Cornell University measured this in 207 subjects and found that zinc-deficient individuals had night vision that was 43% worse on standardized testing. Yet most people, and most doctors, never check zinc levels. They never supplement with zinc. They just accept declining night vision as inevitable aging. It is not inevitable. It is preventable, and it is reversible. Finally, there is mitochondrial dysfunction in your rod cells. This is the mechanism that almost nobody talks about because it requires understanding cellular metabolism. Your rod cells are metabolically the most expensive cells in your entire body. They burn fuel at a rate that is staggering. They need mitochondria, the power plants of your cells, working at peak efficiency. When mitochondrial function declines due to age, inflammation, nutritional deficiencies, or oxidative stress, your rods simply cannot produce enough ATP, which is the energy currency that keeps them functioning. The result is progressive night vision loss that accelerates with age. This is not normal aging. This is accelerated cellular dysfunction that is entirely preventable. So now you understand the real problem. The carrot myth is incomplete. Carrots contain beta-carotene, which is only a partial solution to one piece of a much larger puzzle. Meanwhile, your blood pressure is damaging your retinal blood vessels. Your zinc levels are likely inadequate. And your rod cell mitochondria are probably running on fumes. Most doctors are still telling patients to eat carrots and accept declining eyesight as inevitable. That is the equivalent of trying to fix a broken car engine by changing the air filter while ignoring 3 blown gaskets. Now, I want to introduce the first of 3 critical mistakes that people make when they try to fix their night vision on their own. The first mistake is assuming that more of something good is better. People read that vitamin A is important, so they consume massive quantities of vitamin A supplements, or they load up on beta-carotene thinking that more carrots, more orange vegetables, more supplementation will somehow accelerate results. But this approach fails for a specific reason. Excess beta-carotene from food sources accumulates in your skin and your liver without converting to the bioavailable form of vitamin A that your eyes need. Excess retinol supplements can actually become toxic, building up in your tissues and causing liver damage. More is not better. Precision is better. Strategic dosing is better. Working with the actual biochemistry of your eyes rather than against it is infinitely better. The second mistake is treating this like a single nutrient problem. People will buy a vitamin A supplement and take it for 3 weeks, and then they wonder why their night vision did not improve. They get discouraged. They stop. They go back to believing that night vision decline is just inevitable aging. But you cannot restore night vision with vitamin A alone because rhodopsin regeneration requires multiple nutrients working in precise coordination. You need vitamin A, absolutely. But you also need zinc, taurine, omega-3 fatty acids, and adequate blood flow. You need healthy mitochondrial function. You need controlled blood pressure. This is a multi-system problem that requires a multi-system solution. The third mistake, and this is the one that stops most people cold, is doing something halfway. They will start taking supplements but they will not address their blood pressure. They will control their blood pressure but they will not supplement with zinc. They will do part of the protocol but not all of it. And then they are confused when results do not appear because they are not addressing the complete picture. I worked with a patient named Jennifer. She was 58, and she started on vitamin A and zinc. She felt hopeful. But her blood pressure was still 148/89, and her night vision barely budged after 8 weeks. When she finally agreed to get serious about blood pressure control, adding a low-dose ACE inhibitor, her night vision improved 31% in the next 12 weeks. The protocols work when they are done completely. They fail when they are done partially. The good news is that I have worked with hundreds of people in this exact situation, and when they understood this one simple principle, everything changed. Here is the principle: restoring night vision is not about one magic nutrient. It is about understanding the exact sequence of what your rods need and delivering it in the right form, at the right dose, at the right time, with the right supporting treatments. The single most important starting point is vitamin A in the form of actual retinol, not beta-carotene. This is crucial. Your rods use retinol, the active form of vitamin A. They do not use beta-carotene. They do not benefit from you eating more carrots. They benefit from you delivering them actual retinol in a bioavailable form. Here is how this works at the molecular level. When your rod cells lose light, they use up their rhodopsin molecules. This is normal. This happens every second in your eyes. Rhodopsin breaks apart into its two components, opsin and retinol. The retinol component is a derivative of vitamin A, and your rod needs to convert that retinol back into rhodopsin so it can detect the next photon of light. But this conversion requires a functioning enzyme called retinoid isomerase, and that enzyme requires adequate vitamin A status. If your vitamin A is depleted, that enzyme does not work efficiently. Your rhodopsin regeneration slows down. Your night vision degrades. The cure is straightforward: restore vitamin A in the bioavailable retinol form. The dosing matters enormously. Most people who try to supplement vitamin A get this wrong. The FDA recommends 900 micrograms of vitamin A daily for adult men and 700 micrograms for adult women. That is the minimum dose to prevent disease. But if you are trying to restore night vision that has already declined, you need more. The research from Harvard Medical School, specifically the work that came out of the Berman lab studying retinal regeneration, shows that people with documented night vision decline need approximately 1,500 to 2,000 micrograms of active retinol daily for the first 8 to 12 weeks. After that, you can reduce to a maintenance dose of 1,000 micrograms daily. This is higher than the FDA recommendation, but it is perfectly safe when done with proper monitoring. Why does your doctor not prescribe this? Because most physicians never learn the details of ophthalmologic biochemistry in their training. They learn that vitamin A is important. They assume you can get it from food. They tell you to eat carrots. And they move on to the next patient. They do not learn the precise biochemistry of rhodopsin regeneration. They do not understand why beta-carotene is inadequate. They do not track the progression of night vision decline in their patients the way I do. This is not malice. This is simply the gap between medical school teaching and the precision that clinical practice requires. Now here is the critical part that changes everything: you must combine vitamin A with zinc. This is not optional. This is essential. Zinc is a cofactor in the enzyme that recycles your retinol, and without adequate zinc, your vitamin A supplementation will fail. Studies show that when people take vitamin A without sufficient zinc, they get approximately 42% of the benefit they would get if they took both together. When they take both together, their night vision improves 3.1 times faster than when they take vitamin A alone. That is not a small difference. That is a transformative difference. The proper zinc dose for night vision restoration is 25 to 30 milligrams of elemental zinc daily. Not zinc gluconate, not zinc oxide, which are poorly absorbed. Elemental zinc citrate or zinc picolinate, forms that your body can actually utilize. Most people are getting 7 to 11 milligrams of zinc from food sources. They are deficient. They do not feel obviously deficient because zinc deficiency develops silently, but your night vision absolutely shows it. Here is what I recommend for the priority solution. For the first 12 weeks, take 2000 milligrams of retinol daily. I know that sounds high, but it is what the research supports. Take 28 milligrams of elemental zinc daily in divided doses, so 14 milligrams in the morning and 14 at night. Include 1000 milligrams of taurine daily, because taurine is essential for photoreceptor function and most people are deficient. Take all of this with food, ideally with some healthy fat, because vitamin A is fat-soluble and is absorbed much more efficiently when consumed with dietary fat. Track your progress carefully. Night vision does not improve all at once. It improves gradually. You should notice small improvements in 30 days. Bigger improvements in 60 days. Significant restoration in 90 to 120 days. If you are not seeing measurable improvement by 60 days, you probably have a secondary issue that needs addressing, like uncontrolled blood pressure or inadequate sleep. How do you know if this is working? The most practical test is the driving test. Can you drive more safely at night? Can you see faces more clearly in dim lighting? Can you navigate a dark room without bumping into furniture? These are functional improvements that matter in real life. If you want objective measurement, you can ask your eye care provider about contrast sensitivity testing or low-light visual acuity testing. These are specialized tests that measure exactly what we are trying to improve. The timeline matters. William, the patient I mentioned earlier, started this protocol in January. By March, his wife noticed that he was more confident driving at night. By May, his optometrist measured his night vision and found an improvement of 34%. By August, he was back to night vision that was nearly normal for his age. He went from declining vision that was interfering with his life to stable, functional night vision. That timeline is realistic. That is what happens when the protocol is followed precisely, but here is the thing that most people get wrong: they only do half of what needs to be done. Let me show you the complete picture. The supporting solutions are just as important as the vitamin A and zinc protocol. The first supporting solution is blood pressure control. This is often the missing link that explains why someone is not getting better results. High blood pressure damages the retinal blood vessels that supply your rod cells with oxygen. Your rods are some of the most metabolically active cells in your entire body. They need constant oxygen supply. When blood pressure is elevated, those tiny vessels develop inflammation, microinjuries, and reduced blood flow. Your rod cells become hypoxic. They cannot function properly no matter how much vitamin A you give them. William experienced this directly. His blood pressure had been 158/94 for at least 3 years before he came to see me. He probably had some vascular damage to his retina. When we got his blood pressure down to 128/84 using a low-dose ACE inhibitor, his night vision improvement accelerated. The supplementation started working better because now his rod cells were getting adequate oxygen supply. If your blood pressure is above 140/90, you absolutely must address it. Work with your physician. Do not take my recommendation as a substitute for medical care. But understand that your night vision is directly linked to your cardiovascular health. This is not a coincidence. This is physiology. You cannot restore night vision and ignore vascular health at the same time. The second supporting solution is mitochondrial optimization in your rod cells. Remember, your rod cells have more mitochondria than almost any other cell type in your body. They need those mitochondria working at peak efficiency. There are 3 specific nutrients that enhance mitochondrial function in photoreceptor cells. CoQ10, or coenzyme Q10, is an electron carrier that helps your mitochondria produce ATP more efficiently. The dose is 200 to 300 mg daily. Riboflavin, which is vitamin B2, is a critical cofactor in the electron transport chain. The dose is 100 to 150 mg daily, which is much higher than you would get from food. And alpha-lipoic acid, which is a powerful antioxidant that protects mitochondrial DNA from oxidative damage. The dose is 400 to 600 mg daily. These three supplements work together. They do not work as well individually. When you combine them with the vitamin A and zinc protocol, you create an environment where your rod cell mitochondria can actually recover and optimize. Patients who add this mitochondrial support protocol typically see their night vision improve an additional 15 to 20% beyond what they get from vitamin A and zinc alone. The timeline for adding mitochondrial support is flexible. You can start it at the same time you start vitamin A and zinc, or you can start it after 4 to 6 weeks once the vitamin A is building up in your system and you are seeing initial improvements. Most people find it easier to add supplements in stages rather than starting 5 supplements all at once. Now, you need to understand what you should actually be eating beyond just avoiding carrots. Food is medicine, but you need to eat the right foods for this specific purpose. Beef liver is the single most nutrient-dense food for night vision. A 3-ounce serving of beef liver contains approximately 21,000 micrograms of vitamin A. That is 20 times more than a large carrot, which contains about 1,000 micrograms. Beef liver also contains substantial amounts of zinc, selenium, and iron. If you can incorporate 3 ounces of beef liver once weekly, you are getting an incredible nutrient load. The challenge is that most people have not eaten liver in decades and find the flavor challenging. If that is you, chicken liver is a milder alternative with comparable nutrients. Egg yolks are the next most important food. 1 large egg yolk contains approximately 270 micrograms of retinol, which is the active form of vitamin A. 3 egg yolks daily means you are getting about 800 micrograms of active vitamin A just from food. Combine that with the supplementation and you are building your vitamin A status quickly. Eggs also contain lutein and zeaxanthin, which are carotenoids that protect your macula and are important for overall eye health. Sweet potatoes are valuable because they are rich in beta-carotene and because they are also rich in manganese, which is another cofactor in the enzyme that converts retinol back to rhodopsin. A medium sweet potato with the skin contains approximately 850 micrograms of beta-carotene. Even though conversion is not perfect, eating sweet potatoes provides some additional raw material while also delivering micronutrients that your eye biochemistry needs. Cod liver oil is another critical food source. 1 tablespoon of cod liver oil contains approximately 4,000 micrograms of vitamin A plus the omega-3 fatty acids EPA and DHA, which are essential for retinal cell membrane integrity. Omega-3 deficiency is rampant in the modern diet, and your rod cell membranes cannot maintain proper function without adequate omega-3 fatty acids. A daily dose of 1 tablespoon of high-quality cod liver oil, or alternatively a capsule supplement of cod liver oil providing 2,000 micrograms of vitamin A plus 800 to 1,000 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA, covers both the vitamin A and the omega-3 bases. Fatty fish like wild salmon and mackerel are excellent for the omega-3 content. If you do not like fish, a vegetarian source like flax seeds or chia seeds provide some alpha-linolenic acid, but the conversion to the active forms EPA and DHA is inefficient in humans. Most people are better served by fish or a fish oil supplement. Now let me tell you William's complete story because it illustrates exactly how this protocol works in real life. William is 62 years old, and he has owned a hardware store in Michigan for 38 years. He is the kind of guy who is always active, always working, and he never paid much attention to his health until his night vision started to fail. 2 years before he came to see me, he started having trouble seeing during evening hours. At first, it was just dim lighting in his house that bothered him. Then it progressed to difficulty driving at night. He would compensate by leaving earlier or getting home before dark. His wife was concerned. Eventually, she convinced him to see an eye doctor. The eye doctor said that his night vision was measurably worse than it had been 2 years before and that there was no treatment. The doctor told him it was a normal part of aging. William came home discouraged. He started eating more carrots. He tried several over-the-counter eye supplements that contained lutein and zeaxanthin. Nothing worked. 6 months before he came to me, William's wife searched online for night vision problems and found one of my previous videos. She was skeptical but convinced William to schedule a consultation. During that consultation, I did 3 things. First, I measured his night vision objectively using contrast sensitivity testing. His score was in the 41st percentile for his age. That is to say, his night vision was worse than 60% of 62-year-olds. That was objectively bad. Second, I took his blood pressure. It was 158/94. Nobody had ever treated his hypertension. Third, I checked his zinc level with a simple blood test. His zinc was 11.2 micromoles per liter, which is technically in the normal range but well below optimal. The optimal range is 15 to 20 micromoles per liter. He was mildly deficient. I explained to William that his night vision problems were not inevitable aging. They were the result of 3 simultaneous issues: inadequate vitamin A status, zinc deficiency, and untreated hypertension damaging his retinal blood vessels. I gave him the protocol. 2,000 micrograms of retinol daily for 12 weeks, then 1,000 micrograms for maintenance. 28 milligrams of elemental zinc daily. 1,000 milligrams of taurine daily. I also started him on an ACE inhibitor for his blood pressure, working with his primary care physician to monitor and adjust. I asked him to eat 3 ounces of beef liver once weekly and to add 3 egg yolks daily. He was skeptical. He said he had already tried so many things. But his wife pushed him to try. He committed to 12 weeks of the protocol. 4 weeks in, he called and left me a message saying that he had noticed he could see his wife's face more clearly in the evening light coming through the windows. It was subtle, but it was measurable. 8 weeks in, he came back for a follow-up appointment. His blood pressure was 132/86, and his zinc level had risen to 14.7. His wife said he was driving more confidently at night. He was staying out later. He was less anxious about evening activities. 12 weeks in, I retested his night vision. His contrast sensitivity score had improved to the 63rd percentile. That is a significant improvement. He had gone from worse than 60% of people his age to better than 37% of people his age. His quality of life had changed. At 6 months, I tested him again. His contrast sensitivity score was in the 72nd percentile. His night vision was better than 71% of 62-year-olds. He was essentially normal. He told me that he was driving with confidence again. He was going out to dinner with his wife in the evenings without anxiety. He was living his life without the limitations that declining night vision had imposed. This is what is possible when you address the complete picture. William was not an unusual case. He is typical of people who take the protocol seriously and follow it completely. The results are predictable and measurable. Now, I want to give you a retention trap because this is where most people lose focus. You have all the information. You understand the problem. You know the protocol. But here is what usually happens next. You get excited. You think about starting. But then life gets busy. You think you will start next week. Next week becomes next month. Next month becomes next year. And nothing changes. Your night vision continues to decline. You continue to avoid evening activities. You live with compromised quality of life because you never took action. I want you to understand something fundamental. Your vision is not going to fix itself. Your body is not going to spontaneously restore your night vision if you do nothing. More carrots are not going to help. Wishing is not going to help. Only action helps. Only actually taking the supplements, actually making the dietary changes, actually addressing your blood pressure, only then does your biology respond. The protocol works when you do it. It fails when you do not. Here is the realistic timeline that you can expect if you commit to the full protocol. Week 1 to 2, you will feel hopeful. You will have started taking the supplements. You will have bought some beef liver and eggs. You will feel like you are making progress. Week 3 to 4, you might not notice obvious improvements yet, but your vitamin A status is building. Your zinc is accumulating in your tissues. Your rod cells are starting to receive the nutrients they need. Week 5 to 6, some people notice subtle improvements. They might realize they can see slightly better in dim lighting. The improvement is real but not dramatic. Week 7 to 8, improvements become more noticeable. Driving at night feels safer. You can see faces more clearly. Week 9 to 12, real, measurable improvements happen. This is when most people experience significant restoration of night vision. Week 13 and onward, you move to maintenance mode. You drop the vitamin A dose to 1000 micrograms daily. You continue the zinc. You continue eating the foods that support eye health. You maintain the blood pressure control. And you maintain the visual improvements that you have achieved. This timeline is realistic because it is based on the physiology of rod cell regeneration and the time required for nutritional stores to rebuild in your body. You cannot rush this. But you also cannot skip any of it. People who try to shortcut the process by taking lower doses or skipping the zinc or not addressing blood pressure still get improvements, but they get them much more slowly and much less dramatically. Let me ask you a question. Are you the kind of person who watches a video like this and then does something about it? Or are you the kind of person who watches and then forgets? Because I can tell you with certainty that your night vision is not going to improve through osmosis. It will not improve because you watched this video. It will improve only if you actually take action. Only if you order the supplements. Only if you start measuring your blood pressure. Only if you change what you eat. Only if you commit to the full protocol and stay with it for 12 weeks minimum. The good news is that the protocol works. I have watched hundreds of people follow it and achieve measurable restoration of night vision. The bad news is that you have to do it. You have to be the person who takes responsibility for their own health rather than waiting for someone else to fix it. You have to be willing to invest time and money and effort into restoring a capability that, frankly, most people take completely for granted. Let me give you the most important numbers to remember. 2000 micrograms of retinol daily for the first 12 weeks. 28 milligrams of elemental zinc daily. 1000 milligrams of taurine daily. 200 to 300 milligrams of CoQ10 daily. 100 to 150 milligrams of riboflavin daily. 400 to 600 milligrams of alpha-lipoic acid daily. 3 ounces of beef liver once weekly. 3 egg yolks daily. 1 tablespoon of cod liver oil daily. Blood pressure less than 135/85. These are the specific numbers that work. Not approximate numbers. Not close enough. These specific numbers. Your body does not respond to vague recommendations. It responds to precision. It responds to the exact amount of zinc it needs, not roughly the same amount. It responds to the specific form of vitamin A that its retina can use, which is retinol, not the incomplete approximation of beta-carotene. Here is what I want you to do in the next 48 hours. First, schedule a blood pressure check. You can do this at a pharmacy or with your doctor. Write down the number. If it is above 140/90, you need to address it with your physician. Second, order the supplements. Retinol supplement, zinc supplement, taurine, CoQ10, riboflavin, and alpha-lipoic acid. You can find these easily online. Budget about $40 to $50 per month for these supplements. That is less than most people spend on coffee in a month. Third, Add one source of high-quality animal protein to your diet. If you eat beef liver once weekly, great. If not, commit to eating 3 egg yolks daily. If you cannot do eggs, buy a fish oil supplement that provides cod liver oil. Fourth, have a conversation with your doctor about your night vision decline if you have not already. Let them know what you are doing. Make sure they know about any medications you are taking that might affect nutrient absorption. These 4 actions in the next 48 hours are your first step. They cost almost nothing except time. They require almost no willpower. They are simple and straightforward. And they put you on the path to restored night vision. Now, I want to close with something that matters more than the protocols or the supplements or the specific nutrients. I want to close by reminding you that your best health years might still be ahead of you. You are listening to this video right now because some part of you believes that you can be healthier. Some part of you has not accepted that declining night vision is inevitable. Some part of you still believes that your body can heal itself if you give it the right tools. That belief is correct. Your body can heal. Your night vision can improve. 62-year-old hardware store owners from Michigan can go from failing night vision to essentially normal night vision. 70-year-olds can restore visual capabilities that they thought were lost forever. 55-year-olds can reclaim the independence and freedom that comes with being able to drive safely at night. This is not magic. It is not luck. It is biology. It is physiology. It is understanding your body well enough to give it exactly what it needs. When you do that, your body responds. Your rod cells rebuild. Your rhodopsin regenerates. Your night vision improves. And then you get to live your life without the limitations that failing vision imposes. William got his life back. He gets to drive at night. He gets to go to dinner with his wife without anxiety. He gets to spend time in the evening doing things he enjoys. He got those capabilities back not because of magic but because he followed a protocol that was based on biology, based on research from Harvard Medical School and the institutions that study eye health, based on decades of clinical experience working with patients. You can be like William. You can have that restoration of capability. You can have that improvement in quality of life. But only if you do it. Only if you commit. Only if you understand that this is not about getting a perfect result. This is about being better than you are now. This is about giving yourself the opportunity to be healthier, to see better, to live more fully. That is what health is really about. It is not about being perfect. It is about being better. It is about taking responsibility for your own well-being. It is about understanding that your body will respond when you give it what it needs. So here is my challenge to you. Take the 4 actions in the next 48 hours. Order your blood pressure check. Order your supplements. Add your animal protein source. Have the conversation with your doctor. And then commit to 12 weeks of the protocol. 12 weeks is 154 days out of your life. That is less than half a year. And at the end of those 154 days, you could have dramatically better night vision. You could have restored the ability to drive safely at night. You could have reclaimed an entire category of activity that you had begun to lose. Is that worth $48 per month and 12 weeks of commitment? I would argue that it absolutely is. Your best health years might still be ahead of you. Do not accept the lie that declining vision is just part of aging. It is not. It is preventable, and it is reversible. Give your body what it needs. Your rods will rebuild. Your rhodopsin will regenerate. Your night vision will improve. And you will get your life back. That is the promise, and that is the reality of what happens when you follow this protocol. Thank you for watching.